I'm going to talk a little bit about, where you are today versus where you want to go. And this is very frequent to have clients say, well, we want to go there. And the first questions we ask them is, where are you now? Okay, so you want to be here. In terms of digitalization, you want to be there. Well, that's great. But, first question is, where are you now? And what is difficult regarding to where are you now? Okay, you want to digitalize your maintenance management? Then that's perfect. We're the right choice for you. But let's go back, way back, and understand, where are you now? Where are your records today? What are people used to doing today? Notice my question. What are you doing today? And the next question is really critical. What is your team used to doing today? Because if you're going to tell your team that in 1 month they're going to be there, well, first you're lying because you have no clue. And number two, you are telling that, yes, they're going to go from here to there in a month. And people don't like change, at least not this type of change, to go from here to here. It's going to be a process. It's gradual, okay? So if you want to digitalize your maintenance department, but you are still using paper, for example, you have records on paper, or you have records in an Excel file that only you access and your team doesn't access because they don't even report their work. I mean, the fact alone that they're not used to reporting their work on a daily basis, all the maintenance work that they carry out, if they're not used to reporting their work, then what makes you think, what can you possibly be thinking will happen if you give them a software and say, well, from now on, you're going to report your work in an app? That's not going to happen. It's not done like this. So, you have to take it slow. You have to say to yourself, well, okay, today I'm here. What is a reasonable next step? What is the reasonable small next step? Not too ambitious, How can I bring the team to actually meet me in this next step? So if you're in paper, maybe the next step will get, as much information as you can that you have today on paper and bring it to the software. And that is already a very ambitious but quite attainable first step. But you're going to need a lot of stuff. If you have a lot of information on paper and you need to introduce it into a system, you can have all the import tools that you can. But the bottom line is you need to review that data, because if you're going to import data that you don't trust, then you're implementing a new software with mistakes or with information that contains mistakes. And that is, starting with your left foot. So it's not really the way to go. Yes, you can import bulk data, but you need to check that data. And maybe you can bring in a couple of technicians, maybe 2, 3, maybe 4 people who know the business, who know your assets, and they can check this information and even organize it enough that makes the import not only possible, but makes the import valuable, in the sense that you don't need to manually introduce everything from the beginning. You can actually prepare that data and then import it. In the process, making sure that the data is up to date and there are no mistakes, and that people who know the business, who know the operation, actually check the data that is being imported into a brand new system that you're investing in. That's a reasonable first step. After that, what is a possible and attainable, reasonable next step? Maybe it's getting new procedures in place. If technicians before didn't report any work, then maybe they can start small. They can start slowly to report work that they do. Maybe they need to start on paper, so you can have your brand new software just print out very small slips of work orders. We call those in maintenance, those work orders, and you hand them out to technicians, and technicians start to discipline themselves to report the work. Just plain pen and paper, they can start there. I'm not saying they must start there, I'm saying they can start there to actually build the habit of reporting. And notice my word, to build a new habit that they didn't have before. And notice how important this is. So you get them, look guys, okay, so this is your work for today. These 6 pieces of paper, here you go. Please report in that piece of paper the time you spent, what materials you used, what you did in the machine. Just check those boxes that the software spit out for you, so to speak. And sign and just give me the paper back. If you get them to have a month of this, a month and a half, maybe 2 months, maybe some people need 6 months, maybe some person very tech savvy can take 3 days to start doing things on a smartphone. But in general, what we see is people need to create the habit of reporting work. And that can start with paper. It can start by having them access the system, properly trained of course, having them access the system. It can even start by having them access the app. It's fine, so long as you understand that first you need to create the habit of reporting the work. How you do it, I don't care. You shouldn't care. It is important, however, that you create the habit of doing it, okay? It is important that you do it and you have them do it on a regular basis. Don't just expect them to do it in the first 2 weeks and then never speak to them again, never hold them accountable again. That is not going to work because you have a boost in motivation. This is true for any, new software in any company in the world, I suppose. You have a new software, everyone is excited. But after 2-3 weeks, motivation slowly comes down. People are less and less interested. People start to understand, this is a lot of admin work. I mean, come on. And they don't see a lot of actual results from the work they put in to feed the system. You don't get KPIs immediately. So, there's a downgrade in the motivation. This is a very risky time for any digitalization project. A very risky time for any digitalization projects. When, you have that initial boost, but then with time, 2-3 weeks, motivation comes down, evidently. And if you, as a company, are not consistently requesting accountability, consistently checking that technicians and everyone involved in the software implementation is actually reporting the system, then you are doomed to failure, because eventually people would just start creating what we commonly know as parallel systems. I know a lot of companies that contacted us interested in our system because they did have a system, but it was complex and there was no accountability system in place, and technicians were not even bothered to use such a complex system, and they were not trained to consistently report. So they were at some point just using parallel systems like Excel spreadsheets. When they have a beautiful, very complete, robust maintenance management software in their company, but they were not using it because eventually motivation came down. They started using parallel, easier to use Excel spreadsheets, maybe even write it down on a piece of paper and just throw it at the maintenance manager's desk. Eventually people adapt to what is easy, unless they are, supervised in a constructive way to actually build the habit of reporting work. And of course, the system has to be easy, has to be simple to use, because you have tech-savvy people, but you have also people that are not very tech-savvy. And then you have people that understand the benefits of reporting their daily work, and then you have other people who don't understand that, who have no clue and no intention and no desire to discover why on earth am I being forced to use a system. They don't pay me to use a system. I'm not having any increase in my salary to use this new system. Why should I use it? Yes, because the company tells me to. Yes, but at some point, if you're really, obliged to use a system, you can just use it. Maybe you're just irritated and you start populating the system with wrong information. No one wins if you think about it.